Hey, Ali, I appreciate you being on the channel and taking the time, to talk to us for a little while, share your perspective and your insights. I got the opportunity to connect with you over Facebook,
Yep.
and I found your story very intriguing. Especially what you kind of went through and stuff, right? So, I wanted to get you on the channel just so you can share your perspective, maybe inspire some people to kind of maybe go down the path you went through, or if they're going through that journey right now, just kind of share your insights on how you and your family pulled through it and stuff, right? So,
Awesome.
yeah, if you can, Ellie, just share a little bit about your story.
Sure. So we connected really over, I think, kind of the international experience that we've experienced as a family. So I moved to China when I was 21. I'm a month away from my 40th birthday. So that's pretty exciting. I lived in China for 16 years, met my husband in Beijing. He's from California. I'm from Rhode Island. And we decided that we were going to raise our family abroad. And so now we have 4 girls, 3 biological, and 1 came to our family through China adoption. They're now 13, 11, almost 8, and 7. And a couple years ago, when COVID got bad again in China, we felt it was actually a God drop. It was like, it's time. And it was devastating to need to leave China because we were planning on being there forever. We loved it. It was our life. It was a good life. And when God calls, you listen, right? If you're
Yes.
attuned to the ear, right? If your ear is attuned. And so we left and we packed up everything in 3 weeks and said goodbye to the only home that my girls really ever knew. So we can dig into that process. But now we're in the middle of Mexico. So I met a woman 18 years ago in middle of nowhere, China, and she was an American expat, and she's lived in our little city in the middle of Mexico for the last 18 years. And so I called her up and said, imagine this, John. I say, you have to leave your home and you can go anywhere in the world. What's your process? Right? Like, what's your process?
I
Like, how
wouldn't
do
even.
you figure out which country you want to go to? So here was
It's
our
like,
process. We wanted to be closer to home. We had been away
okay,
for decades, and both being American, we didn't want to go to America because it was still a little bit of a hot mess at the time.
true
Canada
that.
wouldn't let us in. And so we're like, what about Mexico? Right. And then it's like, who do you know? Who do you know in Mexico? And as an expat, we've had the privilege of meeting many, many, many people who then either
Yeah.
expat somewhere else or from somewhere else. And so I called all my Mexican based people and said, what's it like? Can I get my kids into school? So there's 2 considerations. One of my girls was born with half of a heart. So we're also a medical family. And so she needs a good cardiology team. Can I find that? Right. And then 2, can my kids get into school? Because I am not a homeschooler. Let's be honest. So can my kids get into school? Can they make
I
some
wouldn't be
friends?
either.
Right. Oh my gosh. I can't. I applaud homeschooling families, but I am
Yeah,
not one
I
of
would.
them.
Nope.
Our job. And so we've been now here for 2.5 years, and my girls are fluent in Spanish because there's no English schools
Nice.
here. So we put them in 6th grade, 4th grade, and kindergarten, all in Spanish, and said, go make some friends, girlfriend. Like, go learn the language and make some friends. Like, that was our
Yeah,
expectation the first year. But now they're fluent in Spanish, and I'm still sucking over here. So I wish that I could go back to 1st grade and learn Spanish. Um, but we're here and we're loving it. So that's kind of the
nice.
overview, the path, and then we can dig in from there wherever you want to go.
Yeah, yeah. And your girls also speak Chinese?
They do. They
That's
do, but they
amazing.
forgot a lot of it. So we did not focus on that the first couple of years because we wanted to get their Spanish solid. And about 4 months ago, at the beginning of this school year, we started them on what language? Chinese lessons 3 times a week. So now they have an hour class 3 times a week because it's important. It's
Yeah,
important
and
that they don't
I
lose it.
honestly, yeah, I honestly believe it. From my experience, just joining the military, right, and going and meeting different cultures. Obviously, I speak Spanish, but talking to other people, I got stationed in
Yep.
Korea for a year, so kind of learning a little bit here and there. I really think it
Mhm.
just broadens your perspective, like just learning other people's cultures, meeting different people, like, I mean, different dialects, different traditions, and stuff like that. Like, it's just, I
Oh yeah.
was, it's so funny, and I still remember her. Her name was Miss Kim that we worked with in Korea, and she was a very direct lady, very direct. But it took me a while to understand that she wasn't doing it to be mean.
Yeah.
That was just the culture there. Like, it was just like, hey, go get this done. And I'm like, whoa, Miss Kim, like, hey, calm down, And I'm like, why are you so mean? And she's like, no, I'm not mean, like, and I was like, oh,
Right.
okay. Like, so it took me a while to understand that, but it's just very interesting. And I like to tell people, like, man, just travel. Even if you go to the next state
Oh.
over, man, just go travel and just talk to different people, man. I mean, I feel like it's an
Yeah.
eye-opening experience.
Well, there's linguistic fluency, like learning a different language. That takes some serious commitment, right? I'm fluent in Mandarin, but I lived in a city with no other foreigners for 2 years. Like, no one's going to do that in your adult life. Like, you're not going to do that. I was 21 to 23 before I got married, before kids, right? I could afford to do that. And it was important to me. But cultural fluency is also a thing. Like, and you don't have to, like, I think the coolest thing about raising my kids abroad, I'll give you an example. My oldest daughter was about 3 at the time, and we were in China, we were in Shanghai, and I was walking her to school, and there was this row of shops outside of our apartment complex. And this
Mhm.
little girl, probably her age, ran out of her daddy's shop where they lived they lived on top of their daddy's, like, it was like a welding shop. Yeah.
Okay.
And the little girl came out and she peed on the sidewalk. And my
What?
daughter, who was 3, was like, "Ugh, mommy, that's so gross." And I said, "Well, hold on a second." I said, "Let's have a look. Where does she live?" "Well, I think she lives above her daddy's shop." "Yeah, you're right, baby. Do you think they might not have a toilet up there?" Right? And she goes,
Wow.
"They don't have a toilet." And I'm like, "Yeah, because there's all these public toilets." And she probably couldn't make it. Because do you know how hard you have to pee in the morning? How many times have you almost not made it and you've got to walk across
Yeah.
the hallway to your cozy little toilet? Right?
Yeah.
And so you
That.
already start to see these little wheels turning. And then she goes, "Well, mommy, how can we help her get a potty?" So it goes from ew, gross to, oh, well, that's different. Can we help her?
Yeah.
So all of
Yeah.
these little things develop empathy for our kids,
Yes.
but you don't, if you're not out of your norm, you miss them.
Yeah.
You miss those
Definitely.
teaching opportunities.
Definitely. And it's interesting. I remember when I was I got deployed and I ended up going to Afghanistan, and some of the kids that were there, they would come around us, like obviously like try getting like candy and snacks and little things like that. And I remember there's one kid, we actually kind of like hired him. He would just like help us clean up because we would go out and we would take like water bottles and like food and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He would come by and he was like, "Hey, I'll take your trash, I'll throw your trash away and everything
Mhm.
like that." And he's like, as long as like it was never said, but we were like, "Okay, we'll give you some money, we'll give you some snacks, something like that," right?
Right.
And it was just, it fathomed me because this kid was probably like 6, and he was like just nonstop working, like, "Hey, do you need something? Do you need something? Do you need something?" And like we would like give him I remember there's one time we gave him a case of water bottles, and he like ripped apart the packaging, right? Threw it in his bag, like threw all these, and it's like 1 liter bottles, so they're heavy. He threw like 6 of them in his bag. He used the plastic, right, to pick up the trash. And I was just thinking to myself, because I'm like, wow, how resourceful is he? Like he already has that mentality of just like,
That's it.
oh, I'm not gonna work harder, I'm gonna work smarter, and I can do this. And like I'm like, this is like a 6-year-old kid, man. And it was just it fathomed me. And I remember it was kind of bad for my son when I got back because I was like, man, you don't even want to get up and go do, like stuff like
Oh, I
that. So
know. Oh, I know.
yeah, he was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Man, I seen kids over there. They were doing this, this, and this." And like, I'm like, man, he had it rough for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's all perspective. Really, I try. My son has a heart of gold. I witnessed him like just do little things. Of I try leading by example with that, in a sense of, if I can help somebody, right? It's cold outside. I've given somebody my hoodie that I just have in my truck, like, "Hey, you're cold, it's cold out, here's a hoodie," kind of thing like that. And I noticed that my son starts doing that, where, oh, he'll give somebody like $5 or little things like that, right? So I
If
feel
they
that,
don't
like,
see you do it, John, they
yeah,
won't do it. If they
yeah,
don't see it,
yeah,
they won't do it.
exactly. And I feel like with us, especially like with your experience too, you provide a unique perspective to your daughters, especially like just the story you just shared right now. Like that's a very unique perspective that will stick with your daughter, for instead of later on in life, instead of judging something, she might start asking those questions of like, why is that person doing that? Maybe they don't
Yeah, but you
have
gotta be
what I
on it,
have.
man. As a
Yeah.
parent, you have got to be on your toes. Because what if I had been, like, distracted on my phone? What if I'd been like, "Uh-huh, yeah, yeah, uh-huh." I would have
Yeah.
missed it. And that little
Yeah.
seed would have been planted in her mind. I would have missed it. Right? I'll give you another story. When we were
Yeah.
leaving Shenzhen, it was very emotional for me. I cried for, like, 3 weeks straight, like, all 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big crier, but it really hurt because we were being kind of forced to leave against our will, it felt like. So it was one night we were at our favorite hot pot restaurant. It was like the last time we were going to go as a family. And so we have a fantastic meal. We get into 2 taxis to go home because we're a big family. And I'm with my eldest daughter. Now, at this time, she's 10. And I am just bawling in the car. I cannot control it. And she looks at me and she goes, "What's up, mommy?" And I said, "Baby, I am just so sad." And
Yeah.
she puts her arm around my shoulder and she goes, "We're going to be all right, you know." And I said, how can you say that? Like, I
Yeah.
had never even vacationed in Mexico, let alone just picked up and moved here. Right. I
Yeah.
said, "How do you don't speak Spanish?" Right. I said, "How can you say that?" And she goes, "Well, do you remember when we didn't want to leave Shanghai to come down to Shenzhen, 2 different cities, right? And Shenzhen's been awesome. And do you remember this time when that was really hard and we made it through? Do you remember that? And all of a sudden I heard my voice, my coaching, my leadership come out of my 10-year-old,
Yes.
right? Because I force my kids to do hard things all the time because life
Yeah.
is not easy. And the world that they're inheriting, God knows,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
the world that we inherited.
No.
And so we've gone from this parenting journey of like, when I was in school, there was first, second, and third place winners. You had to fight to win, right? And
Yes.
then
Yeah.
about 10, 15 years after me, it was everyone plays, everyone wins. Everyone's a winner.
Participation
You
trophies.
win. Yeah. You win by just showing up.
Yeah.
But look at the result of that. Look at these now 20-year-old, that generation of kids is struggling immensely. This is the highest
Yeah.
suicide rates of any generation because they're
Yeah.
floundering, because there's no grit, because I'm
Yep.
supposed to just get the job I want because I showed up.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
not how it works.
It's interesting, Allie, because oh man, I had this experience yesterday, and I'm glad you bring it up because well, the reason why I started my company, and I feel like I say it on my bio, it's I was a leader as a father before I was a leader in the workplace, right? And I had my son very young, so and I say that because I don't like I guess you can say like the cliche of like leadership has to be a role, a job role, occupational role. You're a leader as a mother, as a father, big brother, big sister, uncle that your nephews and nieces look up to,
Right.
member of your community, whatever it may be. And I feel like with those examples, right? Like I went through this literally yesterday. Went with my wife to go pick up my stepdaughter, and she's getting out from soccer practice. And as soon, I mean, I tell you, as soon as she gets in the car, she starts, "Mom, you remember this girl that I told you about? Well, I didn't like her, and we were talking about this, and and like she didn't pass me the ball, and I'm just like, and I'm listening to this conversation inside. I'm like, oh, right, because I have a different mentality, right? And I tried explaining it in a sense of, well, if she did, like the whole thing was this girl and this other girl like to pass the ball to each other only. They don't like to pass it to other people, right? And she's like, well, I'm running and I'm yelling, hey, I'm open, right? Or she said something like line, or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Meaning like she's running down the line, she's open, like pass it, right? And I just kind of told her, I'm like, well, keep doing that and do it over and over. Like be absurdly like annoying and loud when you do it. She's like, well, they still don't pass it. And in my mentality, I'm thinking of, I'm gonna make the team members know because I'm very competitive in that sense. So I'm like thinking of it in a sense of I'm gonna let every team member know. I'm gonna let the coaches know. The team practicing in the other field next to us is gonna know that I was open and you did not pass me that ball.
I'm doing my
Like,
job. You're not doing your job.
Exactly. And that's where my instinct kicked in. But to her, it was just like, well, no, like the coach should do something. And I'm like,
You gotta be there. You gotta play your game.
Yes.
Right.
Team builds a team. I strongly feel that. I strongly feel this is something that I learned in the military. And when my team was strongest was when we self-regulated. We didn't go to the boss. We had our own hard conversations together. We, probably did a little bit more than we should have, but we self-regulated ourselves, right? And we told that guy, like, hey, get your shit together. Let's go. We got something to do, right?
Well, any leadership starts with self-leadership, John. You know that. That's why it works so well. Because when you have a group of people taking radical responsibility for themselves, everything functions better.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything
And it just comes back to, I mean, like you said, this is why I feel it's so important. I like to focus, especially a lot on not just professional development, personal development. And a lot of that's one of the hardest things that I feel a true leader has the hardest time answering is who are you? Who are you as a leader? What principles do you have? What values do you have? I always had it in the military where it's like you lead from the front, right? And it's interesting because, and I'm not saying like I'm perfect or anything like that, but there's a lot of like leadership I feel like that's not has that ingrained in them, right? And I always looked at it in the sense of I'm never going to have my team do something that I wouldn't do first, right? And that's where I feel like us as leaders, as parents or community members or anything like that, like just to your point, we have to ingrain that in our children now because I strongly feel they're going to inherit a world that's a lot tougher than we had it.
Yeah, I agree. And it comes down to all the little choices. I was thinking the other day about, how we've set up chores in our house. Like,
Okay.
is there an allowance, right? We started with an allowance system and then it became like a reward and punishment and then like a dangle carrot. And I'm like, that's not working. And I said, I need to shift this up a little bit. So my kids do chores. They don't get paid for it. They do
Hmm.
chores because they're important,
Okay.
because their role in our family, even my 7-year-olds, they are important. And when they choose to not pick up their toys, when they choose to not put their clothes away, when they choose to not do this or to not help in the kitchen, then someone else has to pick up that slack. Mm.
I, okay.
But they're important. So how much more interested are you personally as a human to doing something and following through when the underlying message is you're important to this whole unit functioning?
Gotcha.
You show up differently as
Yeah.
opposed to, well, if you don't do your chores, you don't get your $5. Okay, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I'll be the first to confess. I tried the money system, and it worked for like 3 weeks, and then
And
after
that's
that, I was
it.
like, "Hey, you didn't do this, you did." And I was trying to hold it in a sense of I was looking at it in a sense of accountability.
Yes.
Of I put a chart up, and I'm like, "Hey, it's your responsibility to go do your chore. Come back to this chart, put on there that you got it done. If I get home and I don't see there's a check mark, I'm gonna assume that you just didn't do it."
Yeah. Well,
And
and that's the
it
thing.
went
They
well for
still
a
need to do
while,
the
and then
chores. Yeah. And
yeah,
then forget it. Or my kids started to barter. Well, I'll do yours today if you do mine. And I'm like, well, that's kind of smart. Like, that's kind of
yeah,
okay. But then I'm annoyed because then they're fighting. And so,
yeah,
yeah, the chores need to get done. But what is the underlying message that
yeah.
we're teaching our kids? The other thing, when I was giving them money, because it's like, okay, some philosophy is, well, pay them for work. Now,
Hmm.
am I raising employees or do I want to raise entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Am I am
It
I
makes
am I
it makes perfect
reinforcing
sense.
the paycheck? No, there's nothing
And
wrong with being an employee,
yeah,
but I want
and you
them
know
to
what,
think
Allie?
differently.
My guys, I love that you brought that up because that was so. There was when I started doing that, and I'm telling you, it only went on for like maybe 3-4 weeks, but there was what was it? I want to say it was like some kind of pep rally football game kind of thing
Mhm.
coming up that my stepdaughter wanted to go to, right? And I was doing the bare minimum. It was like $5. I was like, yeah, I'll give you $5, right? There, you got your chores done, right? I'm like, obviously nowadays you can't really get anything for $5, right? Going to a pep rally, you
You
want
can in
chips, soda,
Mexico?
drink. Yeah, I bet $5 goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, and that's what it's interesting you brought that up because I kept telling my wife that I was like, well, if she thinks like that, right? Because she's like, oh, this pep rally is coming up and everything, and I'm thinking in my head already, oh, okay, she's gonna need some money. She's gonna
Mm,
need some money, buy drinks, buy chips, stuff like that, right? And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for the moment that she's gonna come up and be like, hey, so like the $5 ain't enough. Like, what if I do this, this, and this? Right? Like
mhm.
just come to me, just bring me ideas, right? And we'll figure out like, hey, you can do this, this, and that, and I'll give you an extra $15 or something like that. But I'm
Right.
waiting. The biggest thing that I wanted to do, and for me it was more intentional in the sense of I'm trying to teach my stepdaughter like just the ability to just speak up, speak out,
Mm.
like just take that chance, take the risk, right?
Ask for
I
what you
feel
need.
like yeah, and I feel like culturally, and I don't know, I've only had my son before, so my son's already grown, right? But I feel like she has, and I don't know if it's just a girl thing that it's that mentality of like, well, I don't want to look stupid in front of my friends. I don't want to like, kind of thing like that. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
take the chance. I remember we went to her, and me, I had a unique situation for when I went to high school. I was bad. I was skipping school. I was doing a lot of stuff I shouldn't have been doing. But it was interesting with her because when we went and they were giving us a little tour around school and everything, and I saw like, oh, they had a chess club, they had like a yearbook committee, they had all this, and I'm sitting here like it's my school time, like I'm grabbing all the pamphlets from all the students, like,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, oh my gosh, like you're embarrassing me and stuff, and I'm like, why? Like, dude, I'm like looking at it back now, I was like, I would have joined every one of these clubs. Like I had that mentality of I don't want to look stupid, I want to be the cool person, I want to be in
Right.
yearbook, and I'm like, dude, the skills I would have learned in yearbook right now would have been helping me out just with photography, how to put the yearbook together and market it and
Find it.
stuff like
Yep.
that, and graphics and all. I'm like, you got to think like that, and that's what I'm trying to show her. It's just stop being scared and just do it.
Well, here's the thing. We are the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, get ready because there's more coming. Join us next time as Allie and I dive a little bit deeper into the conversations about conquering fear, using fear as a fuel, and identifying your strength. There's a second series coming to this. All right. Here's a quick sneak peek.
But did you know that it only takes 90 seconds for that chemical emotion response to run its course in the body? 90 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So when you're in it, if you can just say, this is going to pass, like that initial reaction. So why do we feel emotions long after that actual chemical response is done? It's because we're not feeling emotions. We're feeling assigned feelings. So you're triggered in fear, right? And you go, it actually runs its course in 90 seconds, but then you go, I'm not good enough. See, this means I shouldn't be doing this. Uh-oh, I'm out of my comfort zone. No one's going to like me, blah, 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 blah. And it's us that perpetuates those initial emotions.
Guys, mark your calendars for December 15th, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Go ahead, guys. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Please don't miss the second series. And there will also be a third series coming after that one. All right. Don't miss this captivating interview.